Hello, everyone. My name is Peter, and this is The Burning Question. I have the pleasure of having David Andersson, co-founder and CEO of Ecoera, with us today. Thanks for joining us, and look forward to this conversation.
Thank you, Peter, and thank you so much for your pioneering work in bringing biochar into the mainstream even more. So I'm happy to be here with you.
Yeah, well, loosely speaking of pioneers, why don't you tell us a little bit about who you are, Ecoera, and kind of basically your founding story.
Thank you. Yeah, so we were founded in 2007 from Chalmers University of Technology Ventures in Gothenburg, Sweden. And we were founded together with a seed company called Skånefrö. It's one of Europe's foremost seed companies in terms of quality. And they have been along for basically almost 100 years. So they founded 1928. So Ecoera was founded there, and we started working together within carbon neutral, quote unquote, carbon neutral fuels. Mm-hmm. And so we developed a new type of agro pellet from their seed waste that they generated every year. And that was done through a big European Union funded project called BioAgro. Mm-hmm. And in this project, we developed agro pellets that was used to create heat, to dry the seed drying processes at Skånefrö. Mm-hmm. And from this, we then realized that, okay, if we're now in this carbon neutral realm, could we do something even better? Mm-hmm. And one of our board members, he had been in the States, and he has met with Dr. Christoph Steiner mm-hmm. at the conference in Minnesota, I think it was. And so he brought home the idea around biochar, actually. Mm-hmm. So this was in early 2008. And from that, we started to think, okay, we started to dream about that, and could we do something similar here? And we got to work immediately, and we started actually working with biochar in hands-on in 2009. So Ecoera was doing the Sweden and some of the world's first large-scale biochar field trials mm-hmm. and carbon sequestrations. So that was 2009, and that was done in my home farm on the west coast of Sweden.
Nice.
So we used our own farm as a guinea pig for this, and I just love everything, the complexity around soils and everything, and I'm a molecular biologist by training, and I really enjoy this macro and micro worlds that meets in this. And biochar was one of the fundamental things that I was believing that could fundamentally change agriculture from being a planet degrading endeavor to actually helping saving us.
Right.
So from that we started to work more, you could say, elaborate around more specific field trials with different types of crops, different types of biochar additions, various types of soils. And from 2010 to 2014, we did a number of field trials with biochar in southern Sweden. Mm-hmm. And this was done together with the Agricultural Society of Sweden. It's a 200-year-old organization. It's you could say a third-party verifier for everything. And they helped us, and we developed together a number of different trials. Some of them were very interesting. We saw a crop yield increase in some of them with the light sandy soils of 33%.
Right.
We could attribute that to a dry summer, of course, and the water holding capacity
Right.
of the biochar
Mhm.
was quite present there. So
Right.
we continued developing, and we also were starting to dream about an even bigger biochar production, because what we used was, you could say, batch produced biochar, and yeah, around that time we saw the emergence of different technologies and yeah, industrial scale stuff.
Mhm.
So in 2011 we visited Pyreg in Germany,
Mhm.
and started a discussion with them. We have since then applied for governmental grants from Sweden, from something called the climate step, if you translate it from
Mhm.
Swedish. And this is a governmental grant that helps businesses to transform from fossil to carbon neutral. But the cool thing about that governmental grant is that they give you a grant based upon the carbon dioxide reduction per Swedish crown invested.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, so they are, it's a technology neutral grant, and it gives, yeah, basically rewards most bang for the buck when it comes to carbon. So what happens then is that biochar systems are extremely um, beneficial for this type of grant, because
Well, and
it
cost
has,
efficient right now.
yeah, exactly, and it has a negative balance in that
Right.
sense. So we received that from the Swedish government, and could ramp up and start to basically build one and then two units from Pyreg.
Nice.
So,
Okay.
so right now there's two systems down in South Sweden. It's currently Europe's largest. It's a system that utilizes these agro pellets that I was describing before.
Mhm.
But the systems can also utilize sludge, algae, and park and garden waste.
Right.
So we tried different type of streams.
Mhm.
Sludge is an interesting stream to be used, because it has a lot of other problems when it comes to microplastics and yeah.
Right. Metal and
Yeah, exactly,
medicine and so on.
and also the medicinal residues that can assist in that type of urban carbon stream that I want
Right.
to label it as.
Right. Urban carbon stream. I like that.
It's another hygienic way of
Yeah, exactly.
so yeah, and the algae is pretty interesting as well, because from agriculture we have a lot of phosphorus and nutrient runoff into the oceans, and especially in the Baltic Sea, the sea that has, yeah, basically, I think it's now, what is it, 7 nations or 8 nations that borders to this poor little sea, and so it has a lot of nutrient load onto it, and therefore a lot of algal bloom, and also a lot of, yeah, seaweed and etc. that is generated, and that comes back to the shores. So there's a lot of biomass and phosphorus that comes back up onto our shores,
Mhm.
and that we can then convert into biochar, and thereby funnel back the carbon and the phosphorus back onto the soils. So that is the
Amazing. Well, so there's a lot of kind of a lot of progression in the story you just told. Um, what is your focus now? I mean, kind of what is your company's mission at this point? Is it more on the R&D and tech side? It sounds like you guys do innovative work across a lot of different categories of feedstock processing. You also have told me in a previous conversation you work with kelp, as which you're alluding to here. Super cool. Is the mission to figure out how to do those things, or is the mission to be a large production facility? How do you think about that?
Yeah, our mission is to grow and scale this, and we want to do that through through adding the revenue streams of carbon removal to basically unlock much more transformative potential for this technology, and also new biomass streams to work with them more rationally. Right now, they are it takes a lot of effort to handle those type of biomass streams, especially the algae and the park and garden waste. So to utilize them in industrial processes is it's quite cumbersome, because they have a lot of mineral sand, and you know, even the kelp, they grow on rocks, so they bring up some small pebbles into it, and like fixed with super glue, basically.
Yeah.
Bio super glue, and it's
trying to
really
pyrolyze rocks.
Pardon?
I said trying to pyrolyze rocks is not the easiest thing to do.
No, I think Mother Earth is better at that.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, they have a lot of challenges around them, and but they are tremendous source of yeah, carbon to be fixed, and we really want to enable carbon removal revenue streams to scale up, and also multiply the number of facilities that we have now.
Right. Okay. Well, so that sounds that's I think tells part of your story. Another thing that we've touched on that you just brought up is the carbon removal credits, and I think understanding, it sounds like you guys got into that really early. How you thought about it, and then how you think the market has changed and where you're going now would be super interesting.
Yeah, so we sold the first one in 2010 based upon our carbon sequestration done in 2009 in the farm in the soil, and so that carbon removal was quite early, but the carbon removal market has started to form, and actually I would say 2020 has been a pivotal year for this. It has we've seen a lot of companies making net zero pledges. We've seen even companies purchasing removals. Ecoera is a proud customer, together with Puro.earth to Shopify. They have been pioneers in this field.
Yep.
Definitely, they look at biochar as a net negative emission technology, or negative emission technology, which is great. IPCC has started to include biochar in their texts. So I think 2020 has been a fantastic year, and it sort of makes you think that things takes about 10 years to happen in general.
Yeah. Well, so if you're willing to be specific, have you guys been able to sell all your credits via Puro or your own streams? And if so, how much are you guys selling now?
Yeah, that is a little bit confidential so far. So due to our purchase agreements with these companies, but I think that with these new streams, many actors can start to ramp up and also be able to create potentially megaton removals within a number of years. I think we really need that to come online, and also to have a broader set of removal technologies from normal soil storage, biochar, and other removal technologies.
Yeah, one of the things that I pretty frequently think about is it appears that biochar is a lot less expensive relative to some of the other explicit negative emissions technologies. Not talking about soil for right now, but kind of highly permanent, long duration, explicit negative stuff. And we had talked about this briefly, and I thought you had some really interesting thoughts about DAC, and I was curious to hear a little bit more about that.
Yeah, so you could say that the CCS and direct air capture, it's great that we have a breadth of different methods and technologies. We of course we may be slightly biased here, but we
we
really
are.
like
Yeah.
biochar as a method to remove carbon, because we're actually removing the carbon. And here's the thing: biochar removes the carbon atoms. It doesn't remove the two other oxygen atoms that are attached to the carbon in the case of CO2. So it is the carbon that is the thing we need to take care of, not the two oxygen atoms. So by removing CO2, you actually also remove the precious oxygen that we need to have in the atmosphere. But when it comes to I think the main challenge there is the energy. Basically, you need a lot of energy to remove all that matter, basically. But with biochar, you only remove the carbon, which is what we want to remove.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Therefore, I think, of course, and I'm quite biased here, but I'm a big fan of.
Yeah, no, we're obviously biased. I do, and I don't think that anyone should stop doing direct air capture, enhanced rock weathering. Everyone, it's very clear that we need more of everything, not more of anything in specific to the exclusion of others. But the idea that you're at a mechanical disadvantage in some sense, because when you're trying to store CO2, because you have to push whatever 2/3 of the atomic weight of oxygen down into the ground, and that's hard. And I've been thinking about that as something that that was new. That was a new one for me. So so now, setting aside, now we've talked through kind of carbon offsets generally. When you think of, obviously that makes up part of your revenue. How does your revenue break down? Obviously you make biochar, you sell offsets. How else does it work? And can you paint that picture for us?
Yeah, for the biochar system down in South Sweden, it relies upon cheap inflow of biomass. So we use the biomass residues that comes from the seed screening processes of the Skånefrö. Also, another big agro player down in South Sweden funnels in residues from their site across the road. So it's a really short distance for the biomass residues.
Right.
Then we also utilize some of the residues that are from the absolute vodka production. So there's a little bit of
you need an absolute negative carbon bottle. Yeah, make it happen.
Yeah, that's good. We have to look at some co-branding strategies.
Exactly.
Here. Thank you. So that is one. The other one is, of course, and the biochar. So Skånefrö is the one that sells the biochar, and since we are a subsidiary of the Skånefrö, we have the removals business in Ecoera.
Right.
Then there is, of course, the sales of the heat that is generated from this biochar facility. So we put that out on a district heating grid, and it goes to houses and businesses and one big industry as well. So it's a lot of heat that is put onto the grid.
How can you tell us how much heat it is? It's just kind of it's interesting to hear actual figures.
Yeah, it's around 6 gigawatt hours of heat. So it's a pretty good heat source.
And do you guys operate year round?
Yes, we have different peaks, of course, depending on the residue, the seasonal fluctuation of the residue flows. But in general, we deliver heat during early fall. We have some peaks of heat, but we want to produce year round to a maximum, so we can produce as much removals as possible.
Yeah.
And also when it comes to the biochar, there's a lot of different type of applications that customer now wants to explore. We see, for instance, a big surge in interest when it comes to soccer pitches, actually. So using biochar is a way to get rid of all those plastic turf, artificial turf lawns.
That we
And
all grew up in falling on and cursing, or at least I did.
yeah, and the thing is here is that you also take care of another problem, because the artificial turfs, they generate a lot of microplastics. They're actually the second biggest source, apart from normal tires, that a source of microplastic in the sea. So in the Baltic Sea, the microplastic inflow comes a lot from the artificial turfs in municipal establishments and normal soccer pitches and schools and everything.
Didn't know that.
So but it's interesting here, because if we put biochar in the bedding and utilize other types of grass seeds that generate the root system interlocks with itself, you get a really strong turf, and it also goes deep and locks into with the biochar. And the whole thing creates a mesh that is super strong and can actually compete when it comes to strength with artificial turf.
And do you have to, I assume, can you use it during the winter?
Yeah, we are making one trial with a heated turf, so that you can actually
use it year round.
Yeah,
that's awesome. Well, so I think I could talk to you for hours on end, but to avoid doing that, I think everyone should, if they want to hear more, should contact you. But what's to kind of wrap up? What are the things that are next for you guys? What are the main things that you're trying to hit, or milestones, or other exciting things that are coming up?
Yeah. So basically, the next step is to start creating a better, you could say, a better scaling of the current facility. So we want to replicate these, and we want to also utilize these carbon removal revenue streams to be able to scale, and also to create new influx of different types of biomass residue streams into the system. So that is for you could say the scale. And then on the application side, we want to now also try with adding biochar into various applications. Could be as a feed additive, and other applications upstream in the agricultural, you say, value chain. So.
Well, that's exciting. So are the set of preconditions that you lay out for your factory, kind of availability of an offtake for your process heat, availability of cheap biomass? I guess that's mostly it. But are those things that you see frequently in Sweden? Is that something that you're like, okay, there are 10 different places we could be?
Yeah, you mean in terms of capturing residue streams, or?
Well, both. The circumstances that would allow you to operate effectively.
All right. Yeah. So here's one of the key challenges around a sustainable biochar system. It is to nail down the logistics and the utilization of the heat. So you need a controlled, reliable, clean, and pure, large stream of biomass residue. That is the first you need access to. You also need access to heat utilization, such as the district heating that we have. You also need, of course, market for biochar, and that is growing today. We've seen that the European Biochar Certificate has helped transform the market and enable more players to become certified, and we get a better credibility for the product, basically.
Yeah.
In general in the market.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, so I don't want to take up too much more of your time. So do you have anything else to plug before we go?
I just want to thank you, and I just wish that this decade will be a transformative decade for all types of carbon removal,
Yeah.
and that we will see a differentiation between conventional offsets and carbon removal, and that nations may start paying proper carbon tax where the one that emits pays a carbon tax, but the one that actually sequester it long-term, near permanent, will get that money back. So that could transform the market.
If you can't see me, I'm crossing my fingers here. Yeah, no, that seems like the dream we're all hoping for. So I think the goal of, I think, all of us at this point is to make that happen. So where can we follow along with you as your story unfolds here?
Yeah, you can just come to Sweden, knock at our door here if you want. That's one way. Or yeah, we are at ecoera.se, our website, and yeah, if anyone wants to follow our very few posts on Twitter, you can do that at David of Ecoera.
Great. Well, wonderful. So I'll post that and some links and things. But congrats on the Shopify gift and all your growth so far. It's really wonderful to see biochar producers really scaling up. So thanks for joining us, and we'll keep in touch.
Thank you, Peter.
All right. Bye now.
Bye. Ciao. Bye bye.